From Mamma Mia, welcome to the Spills Watch Party, where we unpack the biggest shows and movies that everyone is talking about. My name's Courtney. I'm an executive producer here at Mamma Mia.
And I'm Ksenija, host of Mamma Mia's entertainment podcast, The Spill.
And I am Tina Burke, Mamma Mia's pop culture and social editor.
On today's episode of Watch Party, we're diving into episodes 7 to 9 of season 2 of Nobody Wants This. We're getting near the pointy end of the season and things are getting really intense. So we've already done a debrief on the first 6 episodes, and if you haven't listened to those, jump into the Watch Party feed and catch up. But just a warning, there will be some spoilers up to episode 9 today, but we won't be talking about the finale. So if you haven't watched that yet, you're all safe. All right, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Yay!
Okay, we need to talk about something that's been bubbling away underneath the surface of this whole season, which is the relationship between Morgan and Joanne. The sibling rivalry, the sister friendship, closeness, colleague of it all. If you could describe their relationship in 3 words, what would you say, Tina?
Oh my God. Complex, fun, dramatic.
Nice. What about you, Ksenija? How would you describe it?
How do I follow that now?
I'm like, I don't know. There's too many words, but you go.
Competitive.
Yes.
Loving. Tumultuous.
Love.
Yes. Ooh, I like this. I think,
Okay, your turn now.
Okay, I'm like, oh God, I haven't. What are my words? I think I would say unbreakable.
Oh, nice.
Drums.
I think I would say deep and hilarious.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's why they host a podcast together.
They are
Exactly.
multi-layered women.
Multi-layered women.
Morgan is such a classic younger sibling, though. I mean, she really has all those tropes of the youngest.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Tell me about the younger sibling tropes that you identify in Morgan.
She's that wild. She's confident. You can tell she always gets her way because of the way she behaves. You know, we saw that in a few episodes back in the Abby Loves Smoothie episode where she was like, oh no, I'm coming and I'm going to be in charge here. And she starts to feel a little bit of doubt when she's shopping for the wedding dress. You know, you see those flickers of doubt in her. But overall, she has that really confident, not spoiled, I wouldn't call her spoiled, but confident trope of a younger sibling. And Joanne is definitely the eldest.
Yeah, she has that water off a duck's back vibe where you can try and hurt her, but
Yeah, outwardly she's like built up her defenses and it's very hard to break into that and make her, I guess, falter. Like she comes off very confident and like very sure of who she is.
And also happy to shoulder the responsibility of driving things forward. You know,
Yeah.
she does seem to be the more organised one.
Yeah, she's very pushy too in their personal lives. Like she's very like, oh, this is annoying you, why don't you address it? Or like, oh, the podcast is failing because we won't talk about this, we need to fix it. You're right. She's very like, she takes charge despite being the youngest.
so true. Ksenija, you actually did a little bit of research into sibling rivalries because you were saying you don't have a sister. So you wanted to kind of understand what that bond is like. What did you find?
So a lot of the research around sibling relationships is around the oldest, middle, youngest. That's the kind of trope we often see in research. However, there is some science around sister-sister relationships. So I want to see if you two kind of can relate to this particular thing. They say that sometimes sister-sister relationships can be more close than other relationships. However, they can be more volatile as well because of the expressive nature and the closeness. So it's not necessarily related to the gender, but more about personality. So traditionally feminine traits, which is like expressiveness, empathy, feelings of closeness, those really traditionally feminine traits. If both sisters have that, it will result in a much closer relationship, but it can be a bit more volatile. Does that sound true for you two?
It's something I can relate to. I have 2 sisters and I can see that in the series as well. What about you, Tina?
Yeah, I have an older sister and I see a lot of like, I think for me, this is one of maybe the best portrayals of a sister relationship on screen. Not necessarily one I relate to on every single level. And I'm sure other siblings out there can see parts, but more so just like how quickly they have a fight and get over it. How like the line that she says in the show about like, we should be able to hate each other and I should still be able to be your maid of honor. Like, I think she's really nailed what it is to be that kind of sister and have that type of dynamic that you've mentioned where, you know, you have this heightened closeness, but because you're both so emotional, because you both are like similar in traits, you'll butt heads a lot. And it's a strange thing that maybe not all friendships are the same as the way that all sisters are like that. You can be each other's best friend and still hate each other on the same day.
They're definitely competitive. There is this sisterly competition between them. Because I did speak to Justine Lupe, who plays Morgan, in a press junket interview, and I asked her how Morgan is managing that and how that competitiveness is showing up in her relationship with her sister. And this is what she had to say.
It's a reaction to feeling alone, a reaction to not having found her person, a reaction to losing her sister to this like romantic relationship. And she's like, okay, well, I need to find my place in the world. Like I'm, you know, in my late 30s and I'm alone and I'm single and I want my like ever after and I don't want to be left alone. And so I think this is kind of her chaotic way of responding to that.
So it's not necessarily about being competitive. It's more about her reaction to her sister being happy and how she wants to see her life change as well.
Yeah. And I think sisters and also just like women who have friendships could relate to this because it's not necessarily something you want to feel. You don't want to feel competitive with people. You don't want to feel like a little seed of jealousy coming in when something happens to a friend of yours that they're in a nice relationship or they're having a kid or they've hit a milestone. But it does happen. And I think everyone can relate to that competitiveness and like, how could you not? It's just something that all happens to us as a result of aging and like hitting milestones. But I kind of think that what they've shown really well is like the two sides of the coin here. Like Morgan's feeling like my sister's being taken away from me kind of because she's in a happy relationship and she's hit a point that I can't hit. And then on the other end, we see Joanne sort of feel like my sister got engaged and I'm in a relationship and I'm not engaged and he doesn't want to live with me. So like, why is she ahead of me? And they kind of both can't see what's happening beneath the surface for both of them because they are both just feeling this weird sort of competitiveness about the fact that they're not at the right point because this sister has this and this sister has this.
I'd like to posit a theory here.
Hit us.
This reminds me of that book, The Panic Years by Nell Frizzell, which is all about that period in your life, kind of late 20s into your 30s when you're making those big decisions around you know, your life partner, whether or not you want to procreate, all of that sort of stuff. And I think we're really seeing it in Morgan and Joanne. And it also comes from them wanting to belong to each other as well, not just belong in society, but feel like they're in step. Their lives are so enmeshed. They have this podcast together. They're sisters. They're also best friends. To feel like you're out of step with that person, that's devastating.
What are the panic years? Because I don't know. Am I in the panic years or what does it mean?
Well, it's from your late 20s into your 30s, and it depends as well. It depends on where you're at in your milestones in life. But it's that period of time where you're starting to consider whether or not to have kids, because there is a finite amount of time to do that, who to have them with, whether to do it alone, whether you even want to do it, that whole big, you know, existential crisis. Yeah. So some people kind of see it as a quarter life crisis or the Saturn's return, but it's this period of time where everything kind of, there's a bit of a reckoning happening in your life and you're recalibrating and going, what do I want the next 20-ish years to look like?
Yeah, the carefree years of your 20s are over.
Yeah.
And you're ready for this next phase. I definitely feel like I'm in a panic phase. I think I'm constantly in a state of
always
panic.
panicked.
I'm always panicked. But Esther definitely is in that kind of phase as well. Even though she's a little bit older, she's got her kids, she's got her husband. She's sort of stressing out a little bit about her life as well.
Yeah, and you see that in the dinner that she has with Rebecca, where Rebecca's like, did I tell you that I did this class? Now I'm going on a trip here. And Esther, in like a very different way to Joanne and Morgan, kind of thinks about her life and like, did she make the right decisions? And she also is kind of drawn into this competitiveness against her friend only because she's like, wait, have I made all the wrong decisions? And it's a very human and normal thing. And I think they've done a really good job of showing very different women and how it's hit them at these points in their lives.
Yeah, and also that sort of comparing, would I have chosen this person? And you know that bit where she's like, I kind of want to go on it. You can just see she's jealous of what her friend gets to do.
Her friend going to Thailand, going surfing.
Yeah.
Even if she hates the surfing, she still gets to go surfing.
I know. It's, but I can so relate to that. And I think a lot of women can in sort of that 30s age bracket.
Yeah. And I think Erin Foster, who's obviously like written and created the show, has done a really good job of this because she was this like notoriously single girl, only in her 30s. Like people were being a bit dramatic about it. Yeah. But we love to label a woman as like always single when she's a spinster. But she and her sister Sarah really lent into that. And the like Morgan and Joanne relationship is very much based on their dynamic. Not necessarily what they were going through, but the kinds of conversations they would have. Like Sarah literally joked about wearing a wedding dress to Erin's wedding. Like those scenes in real life. And then they've shown up to the premiere in the same dress color because they didn't speak about it. Like they have a lot of similar issues that their characters have. So that's kind of why I think it's come across so well. We don't always have like these honest conversations about the competitive feeling that you get when someone else is happy.
It's interesting that you say that because I actually did also speak to Erin Foster about where a lot of these ideas came from in the writer's room. And one of the things she said was that it was just about the things that happened to all of them in their lives. They took it from their own lives. So that was like a core part of the writing room, and it definitely comes out in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Tina, you've got some big feelings about Morgan's character arc this season, which I can understand because it's largely influenced by her relationship with Dr. Andy, who is her literal therapist.
Yuck.
The fact that she has to call him Dr. Andy is the first flag.
Isn't it sickening?
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Okay, Morgan is my favourite character on this show.
What do you love so much about her?
Honestly, as the younger sister, maybe that's just a personal hot take. But like, first of all, love her style, love her hair, love her brash sense of comedy. Like, I just love everything about her. I think she's so funny, so witty. And I kind of wish I know she's really sardonic and look, honestly, so am I. But I do kind of wish that I had a bit of her sense of like, I'm amazing. Like she just has this sense of outwardly a sense of self that is very, very like self-assured, and she loves who she is.
The confidence, like the dinner party when she shows up in like underwear.
Yeah, and she's like, "What? We're doing a thing."
I love.
You said to dress up.
I loved her outfits as well.
She's very unapologetic.
She is, and I really love that about her. And I think part of the reason I found maybe this storyline hard is we see it like take her down a peg in certain ways, which I think is really important because it's showing like that really underneath all of this that she puts out there, she does have a sense of self that is very delicate, and someone has like come along and smashed it to pieces with just one word. And so, you know, if it's that delicate, then maybe she wasn't as confident as we thought.
I want to get into that one word that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Talk me through that scene that plays out where her confidence is kind of unpicked and what that does to her.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so confident to go up to a man. She's like, I'm going to go up to this guy I met at a dinner party. He's a friend of a friend. And I'm going to ask him why he doesn't like me. Because everyone likes me. So it's so interesting to meet someone who doesn't. And I'm going to find out why he doesn't like me.
Could you ever imagine doing that yourself?
No, I don't want to know why you didn't like me. I've got enough theories in my head. It's fine. I'll tell me why I don't like me.
So that's right back in episode 2.
Yeah,
in the gymnasium.
really way back. Yeah. And so she goes up to him and she's like, you know, tell me why you weren't into me. And he kind of says a few things to her. One of them being that he found her severe. So that's one of the words. And she's like, oh, but don't you think I'm just like edgy? Like, isn't that what I am? And then he basically says to her, like, he wants to date someone who feels like a real person. That
Cutting.
is so cutting.
Yeah.
And she kind of brushes it off. And, you know, she talks to Bina and then she acts as though like this hasn't affected her at all. And then suddenly the next episode she turns up with Dr. Andy. And it's very clear throughout the season, and then specifically the 3 episodes we're talking about, because she explicitly says it. She's like, he knows all the worst things about me. I said them all in therapy and he loves me anyway. He still thinks I'm lovable despite knowing all this bad shit about me. So she kind of took this alternative route to the thing we're all told, which is like, open yourself up, show someone the like worst parts of you, get to know each other, and like they'll love you anyway if they're the right person. When you know, all that bullshit. Yeah. But she's kind of cheated because she's just gone with her therapist who knows all this shit about her and
who she's paid to
listen to her problems.
Which
and
ethically is really problematic.
Fucked up. And it's like she knows nothing about him at all, but he knows all the worst parts of her and he loves her anyway. So she's like, well, great, that guy will do. And so it's really bad in an ethical way, but I see where her mind went. She was hurt. She has kind of shaken her sense of self. Her podcast with her sister is struggling. Her sister's moved on. She doesn't want to be left behind. So she's like, I guess this guy will do. And I get it, but oh God.
It kind of made me disappointed in her, which I hate to be judgy.
Yeah.
But I was like, all the things that you were describing about her before that are lovable, you know. She had that outward sense of self-assuredness and all of that. And I was like, it took me a bit to kind of believe it and go, was she really? But then as it kind of progressed and I thought about where Joanne's at and all of that, and that then the whole picture made sense. But
it felt surprising to me that I guess it was her whole story arc this season. I think there's a couple of times, and I mean, we'll talk about it a few times on the pod, but where the length of the episodes and the amount of episodes, I feel really limited them in like how much they could get into something. And I felt a little bit cheated when it came to Morgan and the Dr. Andy storyline, because I wanted to see more of what was going on for her internally. Like, we're addressing a really interesting topic and then she just doesn't get enough screen time, I feel, to really like get into it. And I felt for her.
It's kind of one of the drawbacks of this style, this sort of 22-minute style of show. But I agree with you, seeing her vulnerability and, you know, that kind of little peek into her psyche is so refreshing. But, you know, she starts to see those cracks with Dr. Andy when she realizes that
he's got a pattern.
And we can see this, you know, guys like this, if you dated a patient once, you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely will do this. And we meet, you know, the previous relationship. So she starts spinning out and realizes she knows nothing about him. And who does she go to?
Sasha.
That's really interesting to me.
That scene in the car?
Yeah. And their little adventure. You know, she doesn't go to her sister. Her sister, who has been the one that she's felt so comfortable with. But for this, because her sister's been so critical of her relationship with Dr. Andy, she goes to Sasha, who doesn't judge her.
Yeah. She can't go to her sister. She'll hold the mirror up to her.
Yeah. And I think like it's evident when they have that conversation after the big fight on the podcast, and like Joanne goes, the reason I'm saying it now is because I didn't say it before. Like, I didn't tell you the last time you jumped into a marriage and it was the wrong decision. So I'm telling you now this is the wrong decision. So from then on, Morgan's like, well, I can't tell her if there's a problem. So yeah, she goes to Sasha, and like, honestly, I love them so much as friends. I love their little adventures of stupidity, and the fact that they go to the iPhone store to like be like, you know what, this Apple employee, he will help us break into my partner's iPhone to see what his deal is.
And the Apple employee delivering
the ultimate truth. If you need to break into his phone, don't you know the answers? But she doesn't, because she keeps going to couples counselling, and that's really annoying. And I think that's where I connect with you on what you're saying about being a little bit disappointed in her, because when they're sitting in couples therapy, like, she has a great reaction to finding out that this man has a pattern of dating his patients, and then they go to couples therapy and she's being like gaslighted by this couples therapist who is clearly just best friends with her Dr. Andy therapist. But it was disappointing to see that she was like annoyed but not standing up for herself. But I guess that's because she's just gone, I need this to work. I need this to not be a failure, and I need to show everyone that I'm lovable, just like Joanne is.
I did love that I know we didn't get as much time with them all.
Yeah.
And it would have been great to have longer episodes and like
really get
dive
into it.
Yeah. But I still really appreciate that they covered that, and they covered those relationships, and they've covered this, even though it's kind of crazy and actually doesn't happen, and, you know, it's supposed to be funny because it's a comedy.
Yeah.
That even though it's a, you know, heightened version of reality, it still is really relatable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's so real. I mean, I'm thinking, I don't want to get too personal, but looking at, you know, your own lives, you see friends, you know, colleagues, maybe siblings making wild decisions. And you're going, I want to be supportive, but this
is crazy.
Yeah, when do you know to say, you got to stop?
And it actually takes a lot for Joanne to say something. Like, that's quite scary to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, her parents won't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did love the scene in the wedding dress shop when, like, the mum's kind of saying that she, you know, it's important to know people, and Joanne just starts, like, loudly saying it so that Morgan can hear her in the dressing room. She's like, yes, you should get to know someone before you marry them. What an interesting thought. Like, she's really teetering around it for a long time before she brings it up.
I was going to say that scene's a really interesting study, because at the start she starts behaving strangely. Like, she puts on the dress because she doesn't know the words, and then it slowly evolves until she just kind of out and sets it.
And it does come out in the pod, and then eventually, like, their weird little apology makeup, which is just so perfect for sisters to be like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but I also did this to you. So we're even? Great, we're done. Like,
do you know what other part was really funny? Congratulations.
Yeah.
With like 10 question marks.
So good.
I did say congratulations. No, you didn't. You said
Congratulations.
Which is how I would react if something like that happened to a friend of mine that was this deeply concerning to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome news.
Yeah.
wowee, that's exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
So a little silly like behind the scenes moment from that wedding dress shopping scene is that the first dress Morgan tries on is like this silky basic sort of wedding dress number, and the family all hate it, and Joanne is like, it's basically pajamas, I don't like it.
And the dad's like,
And the
I can
dad's-
see your underwear
he's
line.
like, you can see her underwear line. That's like essentially the exact same dress that the actress Justine Lupe wore for her wedding last year.
No
So they're just
way.
like doing a little cutesy joke, making fun of themselves. And it's not the only time. Like when they wear the gold necklace on Valentine's Day and they mention the designer, that's actually a friend of the Foster sisters. So like there's a few things they've sprinkled throughout just to be like, haha, aren't we so silly?
Cast inside jokes.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the
love
vibe
it.
I get from them. Justine was such a great chat and so funny and
Yeah.
like lovely.
It's almost like it probably was her idea to be like, let's do this.
Yeah, let's make
fun of me.
Yeah.
Episode 9, it's titled Crossroads, and I feel like this is a point where we see all of these relationships under a lot of pressure. But it all kind of comes to a head when they're at the pub and they're playing that game, the game from hell, which we've kind of dubbed it among ourselves. But the point where the cracks actually start to show is the previous episode where they're sitting in the park, Abby loves smoothie, breakup announcement happens, and then Noah and Joanne start to talk about their feelings around marriage and whether it's, okay to let things go. Noah even starts to compare leaving a marriage to Joanne changing schools a lot. That bit kind of gave me the ick. Tina, what did you think about that?
Yeah, likewise. I think he's feeling a sense of panic the longer it goes on that she's not like there's this tabled pressure throughout the whole season of will she, won't she convert? And I think the longer that goes, the longer that they don't have that conversation and they just keep shoving it aside, the worse he's starting to feel. So then he sort of reads into everything that she does or every conversation they have as like a way to put a judgment on her and the kinds of decisions she makes, right?
Yeah, and it's the core of it is about values in a relationship. You look at Noah, whose parents are together. They've been together like a long time. He's in this very family-orientated dynamic. And then we look at Joanne, whose parents are divorced. And, there comes this questioning of, is she actually going to fight for our marriage? Is she interested in being a partnership?
Yeah. And I think when they have the conversation about like the Abby loves smoothies, divorce, and then the fact that she's changed high schools a lot, they have this dinner with her parents where they mention like, oh, she changed schools a lot. She was always really flighty. Like they never stick with anything. He sort of comes to this conclusion that she wouldn't stick with a marriage or their marriage if something were to come up that was complicated or hard. And I think she does the one thing she doesn't do very much this season, and she actually communicates how she feels, and she starts to explain the difference in where they're coming from. Like, yeah, you had a great childhood with a family that loved you and a mum who thought like the sun shines out of your ass. I had a family where my parents should have gotten divorced long before they ever did, and it changed the way that I view romance and love. Like she's coming from a very different place.
Noah is really starting to bother me though, because you can see he's insecure with Temple Ahava.
Yeah.
He's having doubts about his own abilities as a rabbi. He's competing. He's really uncomfortable with Rabbi Neil, which is Seth Rogen's character. And it all sort of comes to a head at the end of episode 8 when Joanne gets evicted.
Yeah. And it is seeping into like how he views their relationship. And it's the one thing she didn't want. It's why she left at the end of season 1. She was like, I'm not going to make you make this decision because you might regret me one day. You might blame me for this. And despite the fact that she did the big gesture, he came back. They were like, we're fine. Everything's great. But because he's not liking his job, because he's not liking the decision that he's made, it's all coming into how he's viewing the relationship. And I do believe that he's starting to look at her as like the reason that he's unhappy in his work, and he's still waiting for her to convert. So he's like, I don't know that you're worth the sacrifice that I made. That's how it's coming across to me.
Her worst nightmare, the thing that she predicted, is sort of starting to play out.
Yeah.
And she warned him and said, hey, I don't want this to be a thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I promise it won't. Now it's a thing.
And in
it
the
all-
game from hell, he goes, it wasn't a hard decision. Like that is so brutal.
Yeah. And it all culminates in this decision that's apparently very easy for him to go, we shouldn't live together. we just shouldn't. And she kind of doesn't understand that till they play the game and they later have a conversation where his reasoning explanation is like, but I don't want us to move in together. And then the conversation around you converting just keeps carrying on for years and we don't resolve it. That's like, I mean, that's a slap in the face to her, really. She didn't see that coming, but like, he's clearly been festering on this, and I guess we have the game from hell to thank for why it all comes out.
Oh, everybody loses it in this
Never
game from
play
hell.
a card game with people who are in a bad space.
I was going to say the game from hell is such a critical point in the whole season.
I love the game
Even
from
the
hell.
way it's
I wanna
shot
play.
as well. It's kind of like panning around. You've got all the different couples.
And you
can
just
see-
know in that happy montage bit when they're all like, ha, 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 I did this, hee, hee, hee. You're like, I can't wait for this to turn bad.
Yeah, Dr. Andy's like standing up, reenacting some
Reenacting.
funny, hilarious scene where he like fell over, I don't know, on some adventure sport. But the part that is really a moment of clarity for me was when Sasha says, you don't know anything about Dr. Andy to Morgan, so you had to bring a game because you've never asked him a question. That was pretty cutting.
What you said earlier, Tina.
It's so brutal, but Sasha, you're so right. I loved Sasha's big meltdown. I thought it was overdue and he deserved to have that moment.
Absolutely.
And yes, he maybe attacked Morgan in that moment, but he has been like, his brother has been hanging up on him. His wife, Esther, we love Esther, but she's gone through some shit and it means she's kind of ignoring him and not properly conversing with him. And then they're playing this game that takes a turn to the game from hell, and suddenly his wife's saying that her ideal life is, you know, one that he's not in.
Yeah, eating steak alone.
Morgan's suddenly discovering that her fiance has a secret twin she didn't know about
That
after
bit is so funny.
dragging Sasha all around town, like, oh, is my relationship bad? Is it okay? How can you help me? Like, everything is about everyone else. It's never about Sasha. And this game has exposed that for him. And I think he deserved to yell at everybody and point out the flaws. I kind of think that makes him the catalyst for everything that follows that day.
Absolutely. And Esther is so focused on herself, which she has a right to be.
Exactly.
She's allowed to do that. I did actually talk to Jackie Tone about Esther's arc and how much she changed, and this is what she had to say.
I think she's starting to get a little bit of wind in her sails of like, wait a minute, this could be fun. I could be fun. And so she's really on just like a self-exploration journey in season 2 of like, what does my life look like? What would it look like if I was actually trying to make these decisions instead of ending up with a person I love, but who I got with because we got pregnant. And then now we're sort of here 15, 18 years later. And it's like, what decisions would I have made differently? And I think this is the first time she's ever asked herself that.
We've talked about her wanting to be fun, to have fun. She says that a few times throughout the season.
Oh my God, we all want to be fun.
We want to be the fun one. And I don't know. I know we just said Sasha deserved to yell at everyone, but I also
So
think
does Esther. She
so
needs her
does
moment.
Esther. Yeah, I'm kind of like Sasha kind of deserves to be in hot water too because he hurt her feelings.
Yes, and if I really enjoy Sasha as a character, but if I was married to Sasha, I would probably be already out of there.
Same.
It's a complacency, and
Yeah.
a lot of women I know would relate to where Esther is in her life. It is, you know, she actually says to Sasha, I'm not your mother.
Yeah.
And it becomes so common in that relationship. You've got a kid, you are managing a household, you're doing the mental load. I mean, we talk ad nauseum about mental load. You know, it is such a huge topic, but it's real. And so many women in their sort of late 30s, 40s, they're running a household, looking after children. They have no time for themselves. That's why she talks about her ideal day being like eating a steak alone.
Yeah.
I so relate to that. I know a lot of women would.
Yeah, and it seems to catch him off guard, obviously, but the main reason being, we already know, they already told us, he's like, Esther's not talking to me. I don't know what's going on with her. And that is the theme that has kind of brought us to this card game, is just like miscommunication or no communication for some of the couples, especially the scene that we saw where Joanne comes home from her bad day where she's had a fight with Morgan and, you know, they decide they're going to stop the podcast. Noah comes home from the temple, decides he hates it and he's made a terrible decision. And they walk in the door and they both go, how was your day? And they go, I'm fine. It was a great day. But they've both told their siblings how they're feeling, but no one seems to be telling their partners how they're feeling. And that's what this game exposes and blows up.
Yes, and it actually reminds me of something a child psychologist said once when I was doing a different podcast, and they were talking about how you can let it all hang out with people you feel safe with, and that's why you often hear stories around kids who act like angels at daycare or school, and then they get home and maybe Ksenija, you've experienced this, and then they're just totally feral. And you're like, why? The teacher said they were an angel at school and they're a devil at home. Why? It's because they feel safe with you, and you see that with these relationships. They're letting it all hang out for their siblings, but they're not being honest with their significant other. And it's there's real repercussions for that.
Yeah, and it kind of, that's how this whole episode of Crossroads kicks off, right? Like Joanne's like, well, I need a place to live. And then Noah's like, well, I guess we'll find you one, won't we? But then goes and has a whole conversation with his brother on the basketball court being like, no, she said it's fine. I said this. We're all good. Everything's fine. And Sasha's like, you're a bit of an idiot if you think that's true. But they go off and they have conversations with their siblings, but not with each other. And then that is how we end up with this massive blow up because he's not been honest about the reason he doesn't want to move in with her.
Sasha's actually so insightful.
So good.
The first season he was so much comic relief and that was him. But again, we're getting these like really raw moments of him and he really snaps.
Yeah.
He's over it. He's sick of everybody.
I kind of love it.
I love it too.
And I think his advice is wise and I think he's always got something good to say to his siblings. Yeah.
Everyone else is not really saying what they mean and Sasha's calling them all out.
This is the culmination of Joanne and Noah just pretending nothing's wrong for a really long time.
Yeah.
And Sasha's been like ribbing at Noah to make it work and like be honest and he hasn't been. And now we see it blow up in this moment where Noah's like, I'll tell you later. We'll have this discussion later. We don't need to have it in front of everybody at the pub. But it's like, well, you wouldn't have had to if you'd ever just been honest with each other.
Do you know what's interesting to me is in season 1, so much of the feedback on the season was that it was such a great depiction of relationships and that, these were mature relationships and they were talking and we've kind of backslid a little bit. Like what is it about this season that's shifted in the way that they're handling relationships? Is that when you get deeper into a relationship,
there's more
are
to
less
lose.
likely?
I think there's more to lose now.
And it was very surface level, I guess. We just didn't realize because we've learned so much about Noah this season that's given many people the ick.
Yeah.
But like we thought that was, wow, look at him. Look how open he's being. Look how honest he's being. And then it's like maybe it actually wasn't. It was just surface level. Like he's a on paper good guy and he has his flaws like we all do. But yeah, it's not good. It's concerning. And maybe there's just like a bigger undertone of anxiety because we're having a lot of the same conversations we had last season, but this time they're more stressful because there's more to lose.
Yeah, the stakes are higher. Season 1 was about losing the fairy tale and this is about actually losing
the person.
Your person and someone who you've made a lot of sacrifice for. That they've both given up things, his job, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I just think the stakes are higher.
Yeah. I
on the
agree.
table.
And it ends in this really heartbreaking conversation at the end of episode 9 between Noah and Joanne, which I wasn't ready for. I have to admit, I was very upset by this.
There's a lot going on now. And again, this episode's called Crossroads and everything blows up at the end.
Yeah.
Because we've only got one episode left and I'm scared.
What was it about that conversation between Noah and Joanne that made you feel all those things?
Probably just that they finally do acknowledge what they've pretended was fine all along, which is, again, this conversation of is she ready and when will she ever be ready to convert to Judaism? Like they've said, we tabled it. Oh, no, we didn't. Whoopsie daisies. Oh, it's still on the cards. I just need time. And we're finally at the point again, thanks to the card game and thanks to Sasha, of recognizing that nothing will change unless they change it. And the conversation sort of just Joanne of really heartbreakingly being put in this position, like we said before, that she never wanted to be in. She intentionally tried to remove herself from ever being put in this situation. But now she's here again and she's crying and she's like, don't you think we both deserve to be in relationships where we can be ourselves? It was really heartbreaking to see Joanne crying and like acknowledging the big fear they've both had is like, don't we maybe deserve better than this, which is two people scared to really be in a relationship and take the next step because we're just scared it's never going to work out. Don't we deserve more than this? It's a really sad place to end when we've got one episode left to go.
What would make you happy for the finale? There's one episode left. We're at a pretty big cliffhanger.
I want to see all these people happy.
I just want
everybody to be really happy. I honestly do. I want them all to be happy. And for Noah to get his head out of his ass, and Joanne to make a decision, Morgan to realize what she's done wrong and dump that dude.
Yeah.
And I want Esther to spread her wings and fly and Sasha to also be really happy because I love him. So I don't know.
Love him dearly.
I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm pretty aligned with you. I mean, I know they said they didn't want to explore the Morgan and Sasha thing, but I still hold hope. I still hold hope.
The chemistry's
great
so
chemistry.
good.
Even if they're just, I don't know, I just like them.
I'm not as positive as Ksenija. I don't want one specific person to be happy, and that's Dr. Andy. I want him to get dumped.
Yeah.
Everyone else can be happy. Valid.
Okay.
But I want Dr. Andy to get dumped, and I want him to be heartbroken, and I want him to suffer.
Okay.
for his unethical therapist behavior.
I did say I didn't like him.
I'd like his therapist license to be revoked.
I'd like his license to be revoked. I'd like maybe jail. I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope Morgan wakes up to herself.
Me too.
Let's say that. Okay, well, we have a whole episode to dive into everything that happens in the finale coming up. There's a lot to discuss. So if you haven't watched it yet, go get caught up and get ready to debrief with us.